Hey guys, this has been one heck of a week. I'm completely burned out, but before I go pass out, I wanted to make a video for you. Just predicted siesta last week. The seller. What I've been doing is picking up two TVs. This set is one of what I call my holy grail sets. A set I've been looking for a long time. I finally found this at a farm in the middle of nowhere up in Wisconsin. I got lucky, stumbled across the listing on eBay. It was mislisted, probably because there's no logo on it anymore, because somebody did a horrible job refinishing it. Talk more about that later. What this is this is the very first TV that Admiral ever made. I'm quite partial to Admiral TVs. Probably half of the sets in my collection are Admirals, and this is their very first set from 1947. Now it didn't look like this when I picked it up. I don't have any video of that, but here's a still shot of what it looked like. And here it is about 3 days later after a bit of cleaning. So it's the, it might look like some of my other sets with the usual like jutting out top that a lot of Admirals have, but this one has a lot more style and I think charm to it. Well, for reference sake, here's another one of my Admiral sets. Okay, here's a blonde Admiral, which actually has the same chassis in it, which came out the following year. And as you can see, it has the same jutting front, but all the lines are very straight, very clean, squared off bottom. No molding, no trim, no details. Now let's go back and look at the other one again. And now back to this set. And as I hope you can see, there's a lot more detail to this. It's got an overhanger on the top, some molding up here. The sides are cut off at an angle. More molding all around the speaker. Nice cutout all around the bottom on all sides here. Now for the bad. Somebody at some point in time, probably not too long ago, stripped this down, and when they refinished it, they decided to go with several different stains. Like it's darker in the center panel here and in the front than on the trim. It's not supposed to be like that. I did find a really good photo of an original one, and it's all dark or medium walnut, darker than this even. I guess it'd be this color. There's still some trace of the original finish. They did have the wisdom to not mess with this faceplate too much. They must have masked this off or just avoided brushing over it. Now, on top of that bad stain job, they apparently used brush-on polyurethane. No grain filler. This is all very rough, but also very tough. I'm going to have a hard time stripping this down. Polyurethane is not easy to get off. Really bad thing they did is when they stripped it, they obliterated all the decals. There should be an Admiral logo here, and there should be labels above each of these controls. I'm going to attempt to reproduce that. They were gold decals. I just a few days ago would have said that that's very difficult to do, very expensive. You have to have it set out to some type of graphic house to make them. But I found out that you can actually use an inkjet printer to make Waterslide decals like I've done before, and then you can sprinkle embossing powder on it while the ink is still wet, bake it in an oven or use a heat gun, and the embossing powder will melt and form nice raised gold letters. Not only that, but somebody online who described the process has extra supplies left over, and he made me an offer to make me some decals if I can get him some good graphic work. Just so happens the decals for this are identical to that blonde set, only instead of brown, they're gold, brown rather. They're gold, so I hope I can get a nice clear picture or scan of that set, and maybe you can make me some decals. And the last major thing wrong with this is the fine-tuning and channel selector knob were completely gone. I did find a fine-tuning knob that fits just fine. Slightly different shade of brown, but it's not too bad. As for the channel knob, I'm not quite sure. The only photos I can find, all two of them, of this set, it's not really clear. It kind of looks like it's just another one of these, but I think it's the knob that's like this with a tail on it so you can get more of a grip. Well, those are really hard to find. In the meantime, I just stuck this metal capped Admiral knob on it. It works. You can change the channel, although it's really stiff. I'll have to lubricate that. Now, as for the insides, as you saw in that picture, this set was all in pieces when I got it. I have more or less put it together the way it's supposed to be. I cleaned a little bit of the rust off and fixed 2 of the tubes. Both of these tubes were, the bases were broken and the pins were bent over, but I was able to straighten the pins, glue the bases back together, and they actually test okay. A couple other tubes are missing, that's no big deal. Hopefully these power transformers are good. I haven't tested them yet. That attaches via an umbilical cord to the main chassis. Picture tube I have tested. It tests fair. It's just at the lower edge of the good region. Haven't tried rejuvenating it yet. So I may be able to get even more life out of this. The cover for the flyback high voltage area was missing, but I think I can dig up a spare, so that's not too bad. Flyback is really nasty looking, but I think that's just melted wax, so it might be okay. And the rest of it looks fine. A little bit dirty, but it's unrestored. It looks like all the original parts underneath. So even though somebody refinished this, they did not restore it electrically. I also got the original back, and the speaker's in good condition, despite well, a couple minor tears in the paper, but I can fix that up with some glue, no problem. So in spite of the fact it wasn't even mounted, it was just getting kicked around by the seller in his barn in Wisconsin, I really can't complain. I didn't pay much of anything for it either. Now, so that was that. That was a good 6 hours of driving, having to take half a day off of work and getting up really early and all that. But back here safe and sound. Don't know when I'll get to it, but when I do, I'll do this and the blonde set at the same time, since they have identical chassis, which makes life so much easier. Because while you're working on one, you can leave the other one untouched as a reference, and then vice versa when you do the other chassis. Now, for the other set.